other side of you. Stand up. Oh, chair. I might need to.
All right.
Know how far it will go. As far as it will go.
Well, we know how far.
Okay, look in there. There should be an extension cord in the.
Okay, so everybody, I'd like to. Okay, Lainey, can you mute yourself?
I'm trying to get Harry to find something, but he's not a good finder.
Okay. All right, everybody, I'd like to welcome you to this this July 12th meeting of Merrimack Mic. I never kept count of what number meeting this is, but it's been a bunch, and I'm glad. You're all friends, and I count this as a really wonderful community, and especially in this time of social distancing, at least we can Zoom each other and see each other's faces and hear each other's words. So welcome and thank you. And this meeting is being recorded it will be aired later on Newburyport Community Media Hub. We've been invited by Sarah Hayden to share this meeting and maybe any upcoming ones. And I'm really glad because before, when it was Port Media, Sarah had some videos of early Merrimack Mic that would be aired on public TV. So thank you all for coming, and it's good to see you. And
Isabel,
yes,
Priscilla texted me. She's having trouble getting on it. What should I tell her?
ask her to look at her latest email if she can, or
Okay.
if you can give her the ID, the meeting ID. If you go to Zoom, the meeting ID is 881-9595-4747. Sorry. Okay. So I don't know. 881-9595-4747.
955.
9595.
Okay.
4747.
Okay, I'll give it to her.
Okay, thank you.
Just to mention, the latest email link you sent does work directly.
Okay, good.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
okay,
it should.
Thank you.
But it's not the one that I originally set up 2
Not
weeks
the
ago.
earlier three.
Yeah, well, 3's the charm, 2's the charm, 14, whatever. So, all right, you guys. So, in addition to the technical troubles, I have to tell you that that I was going to dedicate this meeting to David Davis, who has been a fabulous poet. He was the first one to jump the fence from Powwow River Poets and come to Merrimack Mic several years ago. He was a feature when we were meeting at Plum Island Coffee Roasters. And he's been such a fabulous spirit, poet, presence, anything that any sterling quality that I can give him, I would. And I have just heard that he passed away. I'm sorry. Paulette, can you take over?
Learned last night, his wife so generously sent out emails to the powwows and Merrimack Mic so that members could join in and feel connected with him in his last hours. And I thought that was so generous and so like Wendy and David. I didn't know how close he was to death, but we knew he was no longer able to speak. That is how she related his state, that he could not speak. And that was yesterday that we received the message, and then this morning, this afternoon, this noontime, the message that he is no longer with us. But I only met David maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And he's just well, we all know him from Merrimack Mic. That is who he is. He was so generous. And no matter what, no matter how weak he felt at Merrimack Mic, you knew he was going to make you laugh.
Yes.
He was going to say a few things and he would make you laugh.
Yes.
That is the ability that he had. He's like the rocket scientist and your best friend and lover of nature, one with nature and one with every human being, I believe. And he's touched so many.
And he wouldn't have been offended if we called him a bird brain, because he was a birder and he was the poet in residence at Joppa Flats for years. And now Laney has taken his place when he had to resign. And so there's a tradition, a history, just a wonderful, wonderful memory tradition. And I really want to honor that. I felt like I had another connection with him because he grew up in Colorado, and one of my favorite places on the planet is Crestone, Colorado, not too near where he grew up, but we had that Colorado connection that it's such a beautiful place, and he loved it. And a few years ago, he had to give up his place there because he couldn't deal with the altitude anymore. So please let us remember him. Let us please give our best words, our best thoughts to his spirit, which will never die. And I would like to ask Paulette, a few years ago, when he was starting to deal again aggressively with his aggressive cancer, his oncologist wrote him a prescription. And the prescription was to spend at least 5 minutes a day, every day, in joy. And so he did that. And as a result, there's a small book of poems called The Joy Poems. And yes. And so if you would, Paulette, if you would please read one of his poems, that would be great. And many of them were really funny. I mean, he would rant and rave about joy and what a pain in the ass joy was. So, okay.
I decided to choose one that had a kind of combination of emotions in it.
Good.
And that is Joy and the Clouds. It's on page 23 for those of you who have his book. Joy and the Clouds. A bad day. I looked up at the clouds. What do you see there? Joy asked, uninvited. Bats. Angry dragon, a rotting tree. Work on your contract and tell me what you see. I had to use all the tricks she had taught me to fill up the 5 long minutes. A stuffed toy, I said, surprised. A snowman. My sister, laughing. That's David.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes. Bless him. So, yes, I also, I asked Bob Whelan to read his poem, and I'm hoping he's going to show up, having had trouble after trouble getting in. But let's see. Well, he hasn't shown up yet. So I asked him to read Where Do Birds Die? And this weird poem about where do birds die. And I had just written a poem, kind of a companion piece, but I started it separately from Bob's poem. And my poem is, oh, he said, where do birds die? And my poem is, how do birds die? So while we're waiting for Bob, let me read my piece quickly, and hopefully we'll get to hear his. He wrote a piece titled "Do Birds Die?" And the conclusion seemed to be that they flew themselves into a different dimension, invisible to us two-leggeds without wings. A few days later, I found an inert and, yes, dead bird next to the glass door of my balcony. I couldn't bring myself to verify its broken neck. 3 days later, its earth suit was gone, risen from the dead, I sincerely hope. The day after that, I found a squashed, thus still very dead bird in the tenant's parking lot where I live, near my car, but not that near. It could not have broken its own neck. It also disappeared 3 days later. Both birds were small, finches, not juncos. They wouldn't have been very noticeable unless you had just heard a poem entitled Do Birds Die? I couldn't even bury them since I don't have a yard. All life is sacred and doesn't die. So, yeah, that's my poem on that. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, goody. Here's Bob. Yes, Bob. Bob. Thank goodness. I am sorry.
No problem.
Zoom. I blame it all on Zoom.
Of course, it's Zoom's fault. It's actually the virus's fault.
Well, yeah, of course. Let's go to the source of these problems. Okay. Well, Bob, I have just introduced the show. We're being recorded. I don't know if you got the news that David Davis did pass away last night at 9 o'clock. His wife, Wendy, was by his side. And so she let us know. And so Paulette has read one of the joy poems. I just read my bird poem that was to have followed yours. Could you read your poem about Do Birds Die?
Sure.
Thank you.
Do birds die? They have to. It's just you never see their corpses, except perhaps when ravaged by a cat or the occasional one that tried to fly through a closed window, lying neck broken on the porch, or had misjudged traffic and was left bloody and twisted on the road. They must generally die in mid-flight and disintegrate before hitting the ground, their feathers swept away by the wind. The other night, like some suicide bomber wrapped in a vest of explosive self-pity, I hurled spasmodic false threats, detonated words like a terrorist oblivious to consequences, only to destroy myself and damage an innocent, the innocent who gives the world its meaning. Now, every day since, I wish that instead I was some bird that died in mid-flight and disintegrated before hitting the ground.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, so we can start our regular meeting. I know, Paulette, you need to leave fairly soon. Is there anybody else who's under a time constraint and needs to be sooner rather than later on the? Okay, Zara, you, and Tom, you. Okay.
And someone else.
Okay, and Karen. All right. So, and Peter, you too. All right, so we're gonna have to rock and roll here. So how about, let's see, who's on? Zara, why don't you go ahead? Why don't you go ahead? And then maybe we can.
Okay. How many poems should I read? I don't want to.
Well, have a few minutes, you know,
Okay.
depending on how long they are.
Yeah, okay. I don't want to.
Okay.
I have a poem called Canaries. That's a reworking of a poem that I may have read. It has two parts. And I should say that Hephaestus, I'm not going to say the Greek right. Hephaestus is a Greek god of iron, and he was a forger worked in a. He would make things like shoe horses, that kind of thing. What's the word for that? Anyway.
Like Vulcan?
Kind of, yes. Yes.
That's the Roman name.
Yes.
Huh?
Thank you. I'm glad there's some classicists here. Okay.
Not really.
1. Down we rode in cages live, lowered to our fire-damp cave, sooty in the muffled earth. Cold we rode in miners' carts, whirring down the dank, dark shaft, half lit by shadowed spirit lamp. Light as air in dark descent, talisman of men we rode, wings unruffled, wings held close. In we drew like you, our breath, up we came in plumes of duff, silent still, and song bereft. 2. The lame god replies. Skirling above me, free above me there, witness further madness here as humans set their world alight. Watch the masses moving north, observe the forests burn, the land that drowns in ocean tides, and yet isles of song do still live. So fly the nest that has been fouled, act the dove and scout the olive, and bear past dawn a leaf to me, Hephaestus, crippled son of gods, earth my smithy, stone my forge.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice.
One more, or I don't want to.
Yeah, how about one more short one, and then because we're getting kind of close to 2 o'clock, thanks to
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll read an early plague poem I wrote. Then, in that case, it's pretty short.
Okay.
Disease afflicts the cities of the coast. I stay indoors and reckon hour by hour the online news for ill compatriots. Tradesmen, too, stay home. Will they return? And loners die alone in narrow beds. The rich escape, although at great expense, but their estates seem made for plagues like this, for sieges tracked in color-coded maps, for stats and charts of jagged, rising spikes. They speak of tolls, but not of sweats, of coughs and lack of breath that send the medics out, or not, when all the beds are full. This new masked ball is grand. The invites come by air. Invisibilities at home in us. They multiply in droplets in the breeze and breed in tiny spots inside the lung. Our breath itself, a portal of disaster. To stay or go is moot as our fleet lives reshape to stay in place. The debt we owe the earth, that earth has long required. For me, to you and back again, the kiss of death.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Very nice, Zara. All right.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, then can we move on to Tom? Tom, do you want to go next?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Well, I'm very pleased to be here. When I saw the first message about David, I too pulled out my copy of his joy poems and read the whole thing. And before I read my prose poem, I want to say I had a joy moment of my own with him in a medical setting, maybe a year or so ago. I don't know if you know what a PET scan is. It's a full body scan, a position emission tomography, where it's a very expensive procedure, and Leahy Burlington only has 2 of them. It looks for cancer in other parts of your body. And I was checking in to have the procedure done on myself. And there's only one place to check in, but there's 2 ways to go to the 2 different massive machines. There's a lot of prep for this. And as I looked over, I saw David checking in to the other machine. And the check-in person looked from one to the other and said, "You know each other?" And I remained quiet, and lovely David said, with a great smile, "Yes, from poetry." That was my joy moment. So I'm sorry to digress, but there was another moment and another one, but I won't share that one. It was equally joyful, but that's the one. So, all right, switching gears.
Thank you.
This is a prose poem entitled "The Back Way." Last time I was with Merrimack Mic, I read a prose poem about a place. This is about a chance encounter with a person. The back way. You pedal down the driveway as I split wood in the yard of my rental 1810 farmhouse. My dog Puppy wags his tail and rushes to greet you. His memory is of our 6 years together, not able to understand your 4 months absence. Glancing at the stacked cords, you comment, "You look ready for a long winter," and dismount the sleek Schwinn 12-speed racing bike, aiming a mysterious smile at me. A smile that always lifted my arms toward you. Now they hang like sticks. Why this visit? The dog continues wagging his tail at your arrival, brushing your legs, shaking his head, and leaping to lick your face. Splitter in hand, I am speechless. After awkward moments of watching the 2 of you connect, I say, "Looks like a 40-miler today. Training for your next race?" "Yeah, did 50 and came the back way. Recognized your car and thought I would see if you were here. And you are." I do not know what to say as your slim, muscular body parks the bike against the house and stands grandly before me. "I have some fresh banana bread and chamomile tea if you'd like. Can't stay long, but yes, that would be nice." We enter the kitchen, my dog eagerly at your heels. It begins with you wrapping arms around me from behind as I slice bread. I shiver with thrill and uncertainty at the warmth of your chest. I turn and embrace you with an uncertain hug. You press and grasp as the tea kettle screams. You run and turn the water off, take my hand and lead me to the living room. It had rarely been like this when we were a couple. I sense your eagerness and respond. After, you dress quickly and tell me your goal is 100 miles before dark. I reply mine is 4 chords. You remount the racer and head out the driveway, blowing me a kiss. I hold the dog's collar and wave. He whimpers at your departure. I pick up the splitter and tie him to the shed. He stares up at me and I say, see what you have done. 6 years a couple, 4 months jilted, and you cause a relapse.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Oh, goodness. Good for you, Tom. Thank you. And thank you for your memory of David. Yes, yes, yes. So, okay, let's see. Peter, do you want to go next? You were the one that enabled us to all finally get in here. Thank you.
Well, we're continuing with the bird theme, and Chris and I have had a marvelous time over the last couple of weeks looking at the osprey nest in Gloucester.
Oh.
And there's 3 chicks there, and they've gone from being about the size of a teacup to the size of a chicken now. And in about 4 weeks they'll be gone, but they're online all the time, all day. It's just incredible. And a few weeks ago I found out about pantoums, so I tried to write a pantoum about the ospreys, and particularly them being good parents. The osprey pantoum. The osprey mother looks after her chicks, makes sure that she's sheltering them from harm, is always rearranging the big nest sticks, and should it be needed, sounds the alarm. Makes sure that she's sheltering them from harm. Just now her mate has caught a great big fish, and should it be needed, sounds the alarm. It's in his claws as he presents the dish. She sees her mate has caught a great big fish. The chicks get the food bits from their mother who, with needle razor claws, prepares the dish. Somehow, she knows exactly what to do. The chicks get the food bits from the mother who is always rearranging the nest's big sticks. Somehow she knows exactly what to do. The osprey mother looks after her chicks. That's it.
How's tricks? Chicks? That's excellent. Oh, thank you. And you say they're online? You can.
Yes, I can give you the address. It's ECGA, which is the Essex Greenbelt, ecga.org/osprey-cam. And they're on until 6 at night. And they're just wonderful. You see them bring the fish and they tear the fish up and give it to the babies. I mean, all birds must be doing this sort of thing, but actually seeing it happening with these great big birds, it's just incredible.
Oh,
and I am totally addicted to the osprey cam. I don't get anything else done. I just stare at the ospreys.
Oh, that is fabulous. Fabulous. Well, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I'll check it out as soon as I, finish with this stuff.
Oh, the other thing I might the other thing I might do is eventually got my act together for this picture that's going to happen in September or October. So I could actually show you that, I think. Oh no, I can't. Never mind.
Okay. Well, what do you mean? A picture?
For your exhibition.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
all right. All right.
Higher up. That's his picture.
It's the boat and the poem by the side.
Excellent. Oh, that's wonderful.
And he's got it all framed. It's all framed and ready to go.
Now, did you all get the notice? Did you read the notice that our show has been postponed to November 8th?
Right.
We'll bring in our stuff at our regular meeting, and this is, of course, the library is going to be open, and of course, everything is going to be wonderful, and we're going to have lots of visitors, and all will be well.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, and everything else. But but words will be forthcoming beautifully and fluently, okay, and our art pieces. So wonderful. Thank you, Peter. Okay, well, let's see. Paulette, how are you doing? Do you want to go next and read something that you had planned to read? Is she?
Sure, I can go next.
Okay, yeah.
Yes,
And
I'm realizing as I sat here, and I'm all set up, so I really can't move around very well, just so I can see you all. I set myself up before I learned that David had passed away.
Wow.
Not connected at all with David.
That's
a new poem, and it's still in progress.
Okay.
It has to do with our social situation right now. And it's about, well, I guess it explains itself. It has an epigraph. I knew I'd be distracted. Okay.
That was an appropriate pun.
Yes.
Sorry.
The epigraph is, all I ask of our brethren is that they take their feet off our necks. Ruth Bader Ginsburg to the Supreme Court in 1973.
Yep.
Quoting Sarah Grimke, who spoke those words in 1838.
Yes.
Chris knows.
Well done.
Thank you. So the poem title is For George Floyd, May 25, 2020. A man buys cigarettes, 1 pack. He pays in cash with a 20, then returns to his car. The 2 store clerks approach and claim the bill he used was counterfeit. They say he must repay. Back inside, they call the police, claim the man is drunk. Police arrive, approach the car. One pulls a gun, insists, hands on the wheel. When ordered out, he's cuffed. He cooperates, is placed in the cruiser, claims claustrophobia, and he's pulled out. The cops and he are caught on cell phone videos as Floyd is forced down, prone to the ground. Officers act. The first, knee on his neck. The second, knees on his back. A third, presses down his legs, full force. A fourth, stands by, watchful. He rasps, again, again. I can't breathe. Onlookers video the scene, shout out, he can't breathe. Listen, he can't breathe. 8 minutes pass. Still pressed, he passes out. The crowd yells out, call 911. Police call, claim just routine. The crowd insists, yells out, you need to call EMS. Ambulance arrives, no EMTs. Floyd's lifted to a stretcher, unresponsive. He dies en route of cardiac arrest without the skilled trained help of EMS. Killed after buying a pack of cigarettes. Killed from actions taken by 4 police, like Eric Garner, chokehold, Staten Island, like Michael Brown, shot in the back, Ferguson. like Laquan McDonald, shot in the back, Chicago, like Walter Scott, shot in the back, North Charleston, like Tamir Rice, shot while playing, Cleveland. To say I have a dream is not enough. To say Black Lives Matter is not enough. To march in streets with signs is not enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Paulette. Thank you. I gave a talk this morning at via Zoom to the little church that I go to here in Dover, Unity of the Seacoast. And in that talk, I quoted Emma Curtis Hopkins, who says that when a group of people gather together, their energy goes out like Wi-Fi, like radio waves. And this energy, what goes out is not necessarily the words we speak, but our secretly held beliefs, what is in our mind, what is in our minds, our hearts, our subconscious, superconscious. But also that when these groups gather and meet, there is an electrical charge, there's an energy that happens from a gathering like we're having right now. And that electricity goes out also. And I mentioned how we're having these mass gatherings, demonstrations, and marches. And please let us all know in our minds, let us believe in the good of man, and that there is good, there is only good, there will be good, and not to buy into the fear and the rage and the hate. Your words are absolutely right. Thank you, Paulette. Thank you. Well, Karen, would you, do you want to follow this? Maybe you don't, but right.
It's fine, of course. Thank you. Don't think any of you probably know me. I'm Karen Hayden. I'm a part of the Great Court Poets, and that's how I've met Isabel. I've heard about the Merrimack Mic for a long time, just never been able to get there. But now that we're on Zoom, here I am.
Welcome.
So,
welcome. Yes.
Thank you. I feel honored to be here on a day when you're remembering someone who's so important to you. And I can't think of really a better place to be a poet in residence than Joppa Flats, which is a fantastic place. It must have brought him a lot of joy. And I know that Lauren, who's taken over, has definitely got big shoes to fill.
Right.
And
so
Karen,
one more thing. David was the one who started whenever there was a person who showed up for the first time at Merrimack Mic, we would all go, oh, 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 oh. So,
yes.
Okay, you are welcome to this first time.
Wow.
On David Davis. So yes.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I have two short poems today, and I actually, as I look at the second one, I did not know he had passed, but it's, I think, a good one to read today. But the first one is called On the Move. I know I'm like the snowflake that's landed on your sleeve, there 1 minute and gone the next. I know I'm like the seashell tossed about by the waves and tumbling out of reach. I know I'm like the butterfly flitting on the breeze, undecided where to land. I know with all this change, I don't know what I want, not knowing when I will know. So I'm like the wind blowing through your hair, passing through, then not there.
Nice,
Very
nice,
nice, yes.
nice.
Okay, and this one I'm going to dedicate to David because I think it's a good one to read after someone has passed. So I think this will be good. It's called Laughter and Tears. A life should be blessed with laughter and tears. Sweet spice and bitter herb flavor the breath and with, balancing the fullness of experience. Tears cannot flow unchecked. Bitterness destroys peace, chokes satisfaction, unable to enjoy success. Laughter cannot flow unchecked. Sweetness drowns strength, resists reality, unable to swallow difficulty. Yin and yang, we need them both. Source of happiness to know who we are, that we can handle anything. Cry with joy, laugh at danger, cry in grief, laugh in amusement. Embrace it all, because that is life.
Oh, thank
Very
you,
nice.
Karen.
Very
Thank
nice.
you so much. Yes, beautiful and very appropriate. Yes.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Well, I should ask now, is there anybody else that has a time crunch that needs to leave soon? And I can put you up next, or are we, Lainey? Lainey, you need to? Okay, let me unmute you. Come on, unmute. Okay, yeah, now we're good. Okay, thank you, Lainey.
Yeah, it's a difficult day for me.
Yes, but I'm sure.
And I, of course, had worked together. David read the whole Joy collection for the first time at the Amesbury Public Library when he was a feature there. When he asked me to take over for him at Joppa Flats, I knew why. I knew his situation. So I did not hesitate because I knew he put trust in me to move forward with what he had established. The only problem I told him was, David, I'm not funny. Because he was so witty and amusing, and I don't have that quality. So I said, I don't know if I can replace you in that area.
Lainey, come on now. Don't sell yourself short. No self-denigration there.
No, but otherwise, he was very supportive of me taking over. He was almost insisted that they accept that.
Yeah. Well, good choice. And I'm sure, I'm sure this is a hard day for you. Yes. And I think it was a good choice. Thank you, Lainey.
I'm going to read two poems. The first poem is about separation. It was written in the context of what we're dealing with the pandemic. It has no title. In an empty courtyard, trees near the fence rustle like starched skirts that sway in a slight breeze as stars slowly appear. Each night brings a different style of longing. Sometimes the heart aches with loneliness. Other nights there is joy in anticipation of reunion. Neither changes the situation nor brings you closer to me.
Oh, nice, nice, nice.
The second one I'm going to read is a mortality poem. I wrote it back when we were first hearing about COVID-19. It's called Contemplating COVID-19. It also could be titled Contemplating Mortality. Are these my last days? I harbor no complaints as I sit by the lake on an early spring evening. The sun has settled between silent gray clouds and sends a silver light onto the lake's surface. Creates a mosaic of bright and dark patterns along the waves, now brushed by soft breezes. I am home in the place of my birth, my familiar turf. In another dimension, family and friends may await, or have they always been here? I wonder, does time even exist? I have my doubts about this. In memory, with my siblings splashing in the waters of Attitash, while my father strums songs on the old wooden porch. Pleasant hours that exist within. If a different world is the destination, a departed friend found me in dreams with news that he has saved a spot. No issues if Earth claims me, for we have always been close. I am not yet packing my bags, but have secured a few supplies.
Oh,
Wonderful.
thank you. Thank you.
Love that.
Thank you. Right. Yeah. Gee, you know, we can't even send David off with the what are those wonderful donuts? The apple cider donuts or something. that-
Cider Hill Farm.
Cider Hill Farm. That's it. He would bring those, and if it wasn't the right season, then he would bring, you know, something equally bad, like chocolate chip cookies or something. Yeah. So I'm thinking about, you know, what he would need to pack to travel with. Yeah. Yep. Thank you, Lainey. Thank you. Harris, do you have something to read? Do you want to read?
Sure.
Okay, good.
I'll give you.
I'm just going to read the one poem.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. I just got to see. It's about 1 1/4 pages, but
All righty.
I read pretty fast.
Okay.
It's a poem. It could also be a prayer, but anyway, it's called "In the Courts."
Okay.
In the courts of the Lord shall they flourish, in quotes. Who or what are they? Let's say that they're flowers. Blossoms and souls sing anthems of thanksgiving to the Lord, now in metaphysical forms. White roses for present and future purity, for the innocent about to enter heaven expressed bodies. Orchids line the periphery among the exotics or palatial perfumed abode. Lilacs are arrayed on parade, in formal columns and ranks. Birds of paradise are mandatory, quietly trumpet their hallelujah hymns. Here, daylilies eternally bloom. In every room, a different floral choir. Within the courts, these are all symbols of everlasting, though fragile and transient in our too human temporal domain. Red roses line all the paths that converge at the central ethereal manse, exalted passion adorned in all its robes. When an errant petal seeks to be independent, should we interpret a deeper intent? Perhaps an old or new soul searches for another benevolent source that offers newfound release. A lease extending its presence, or maybe a sojourner pursuing an alternate path to enhance enlightenment. In the floral arrangements in the courtyards of the Lord are roses, merely roses being roses. When a petal falls, perhaps it adds another prayer. How sentient are these souls? Are we aware of that fabric's ripple? Does God hear when a wayfarer lands or prepares for flight? When a flurry of petals launches their quest, delving for open doors and hearts, let us dare to follow and accept this new inward migration. In the courtyards of the Lord, gardens and pathways, forever stage a dress rehearsal. For what? Perhaps Messiah's grand entrance into our world that is still striving for total fulfillment of Tikkun Olam, to mirror the arrangements in the courts of the Lord. And Tikkun Olam is a Jewish concept defined by acts of kindness performed to perfect or repair the world. That was my footnote.
Oh, nice. Can you repeat the word, the Hebrew?
Tikkun Olam. There's two words. Tikkun Olam, which essentially means repairing or perfecting the world by the actions of good deeds.
Tikkun Olam. Nice. Thank you, Harris. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Reparation. Yes. Acts of kindness. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So let's see. We've got here. How about Mary? Mary, you have been faithfully trying to get into this meeting since a long time before it started, but
Well, it didn't work the last time, so I figured I'd see if I can get on and
yes,
check things out. And then everything went wrong.
yes. Well, so now it's okay. So please, would you read?
Okay. So when all of this epidemic happened, I started thinking about the new year, how we start out the new year and there's all the resolutions and all the hopes, and the new year is going to be better. So I have one, 2020. A new year, new possibilities, a fresh start. This year will be better. The year has just begun. Hopes are dashed. A worldwide pandemic hits. The world in quarantine. Thousands are dead. New rules. Stay at home. Wear a mask. Wash your hands. And don't touch your face. The invisible threat stops the world. Social distancing to stay alive. When will it end? No one knows. When will they find a vaccine? We're dealing with coronavirus. Maybe some relief. Suddenly, a policeman kills a Black man. A senseless murder. The US explodes. They cry, Black Lives Matter. Dashed. Things were bad, now are worse. Rightful outrage. Rallies, looting, destruction, and violence. Take the blinders off. We need clear vision. Face the challenge. Find commonality. Two wrongs never make a right. All violence must stop. 2020, clearness of vision. Our country divided in so many ways. Black against white, Democrat against Republican, gays against straight, the list goes on and on. Magnifying the differences. If you are not with me, you are against me. What's going on? What has happened to the golden rule? Living with tolerance and respect. What has happened? Divide and conquer. It is necessary to realize we are all interdependent. No one is better than another. Have we learned anything from the pandemic? Not one race, one nation, one species. We have strength working together. All are necessary to make us whole. United we stand, divided we fall. 2020, take a good look.
Oh, thank you, Mary. Thank you.
And on a lighter note, I've got a question for you.
Okay.
What does a thesaurus eat for breakfast?
I don't know. What?
I just asked if anybody had an answer.
I don't know. Oh, Bob, do you have an answer?
I don't know if this is it, but does it eat a synonym roll?
Yes. You got it.
Oh, you got it. Oh,
I needed to throw that in after that heavy stuff.
thank you so much. Thank you for lightening up the mood here. Oh, that's good. Yeah, Harris?
I would think that a thesaurus might also eat its words.
Oh. Yeah, yeah. If they're all the same, you know, what the heck? I remember one of the first signs I saw at the Dover Public Library when I moved up here. They well, before the pandemic, they would have these sandwich boards outside the back door with these pithy sayings, and one of the first ones was, if you see your dog eating a book, take the words out of its mouth. Okay, and other such, you know, wise things. Yeah, Muriel? Yes, Muriel? Here, I'm trying to unmute you. Okay.
Yeah, this is very sad. All of these things about David Davis. And I want to just share a funny story in a way. I remember going to Joppa Flats with a lady to hear people reading poetry. And I was sitting there and he stood up to read his poems. And then he sat down, and at the end, I went up to him and I looked at him. I didn't know he had cancer. And I said, boy, you look very pale. You should go out in the sun. And he looks at me and he said, Muriel, I'm dying. And I thought, oh my God. Anyway, so I'm going to read you a poem. Let me see. A poem about what I do during COVID. It's called Cleaning My Closet. My daughter sent me a new pair of jean shorts and a lovely jean skirt. So I looked at my closets. Yes, I am lucky to have 3 closets, I realized. That there were many clothes I did not wear and many I did not know I had. So I started to pile up the dining room chair with clothes I wanted to give away. Pretty soon the pile grew and grew until it reached the top of the back of the chair. Phew, I felt good and my closets were more airy. No, I'm not buying new clothes. I'm just happy with my new shorts and skirt.
Well, I'm so glad. Muriel, that's perfect. And you know, thanks to you, I've started going through my closet too. So.
You know, the problem with this is several days ago, I had a little t-shirt, a lacy one that I really liked. And I wanted to wear it. It was gone. Anyway. Okay, so my next poem was done a few days ago, and it's called Stillness. My life is suspended in stillness. Each sound echoes and magnifies each thought, each memory floating in my subconscious. Turning a knob in my mind, I flip through adventures in my past as vivid as a silent movie. I watch as the images float in and out, blending and often fusing together with the present, forming a kaleidoscope of images. I am living in a world of illusion that can be turned off and on. When the illusion stops, then the stillness begins. It's almost like walking in a landscape on a foggy night. When the light comes on, it stops.
Excellent.
Thank
Excellent.
you.
Yes. Nothing like light to get rid of the darkness. Very profound, Muriel. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's it. I'm not reading anymore.
I'm sorry you gave away your favorite lacy blouse, but oh well, maybe you'll find it.
It was terrible. It matched an outfit. Why did I ever give it away? And you know what? The worst problem of that is that I put them all in a bin at Unity on the river, okay? And I thought this was gonna donate stuff to Unity. So I put them in there, and then 2 days later, the bins were gone. So I don't know what happened to they were good clothes. I don't know what happened to my clothes. Not only the clothes disappeared, the bins disappeared. So that was the story.
It's hard to recycle now because nobody wants to handle anything that's been handled by anybody that might be carrying the virus. So it's very difficult. I know. I put some things in a big plastic bag and they're in my car because I don't know what else to do with them right now. But so, okay, let's keep the faith. Keep positive, everybody. Well, so let's see, Bob. Did you have something else you wanted to read? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I've got 2 short ones if you want.
Well, certainly. Go ahead.
The keeping with the bird theme. 1,000 birds flew from my chest, leaving it hollow and empty, their wings pulsing a fading heartbeat. They did not fly in elegant unison, like a song in the wind. They just scattered, lost, and disappeared.
Wow.
And I have a final one here called Unpacking. Hesitantly, I started unpacking this bag of clothes that had been in your dresser. Softly, as I began uncovering each separate layer, your scent washed over me. Tenderly, it had soaked into my garments while they were tucked away, laying so close to yours. Carefully, I placed them back into the bag, reversing the order of their resurrection, and then folded over the top in case this becomes all I have left.
Oh, Bob. Man, oh man. Yeah. You know, spirit doesn't die, you know.
I know, but I do.
But you just give up your earth suit. You just trade it in for a new one.
Exactly. I have no doubt. I think, maybe I'm going to be a field of grass or some sort of methane swimming animal on another planet. I don't know. But I'm probably not going to be here. A little aside to lighten it up. You were talking about take the book out of the dog's mouth so it won't eat its words.
Right.
There's a Groucho Marx line that goes, "A dog is a man's best friend." Outside of a dog, no, wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
Does anyone know it?
I do, yes.
Go ahead. What is it?
Okay, Matt.
Outside of a dog, a book is man's best friend. Inside of a dog, it's too dark to read.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that.
Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome.
I'll pass that on to the Dover Library. Maybe they've used that before, but maybe not. They can put it on one of their signs. Oh, another one of those signs is we really should leave poetry to the pros, P-R-O-S-E. Okay, right. Oh my God. Okay. Well, let's see now. We're getting down to the end here, and there are 3 of you left. I'm not sure. I always hate this because when you sign up, then I don't have to make a decision about who's going to be last or next to last. But so, Matt, why don't you go ahead? You jumped in and gave us
Okay.
a good line there. So, thank you.
Isabel, nobody's last.
No.
We're all the warm up.
Oh, okay. All right. All right, that's good. All right, so Matt, have at it.
So, I mean, I wish I had a tribute prepared for David, but when I thought about it, I guess my presence here in itself is my tribute to David, because he's the one who got me into the poetry scene in the first place.
Wow.
The Drop of Flats event was the first poetry event that I attended, and that's where I met
Wow.
David, and and now here I am.
Well, see, that's perfect. That's just perfect. Okay. Well, thank you.
So, let's see, the poem that I have. So over the past few weeks, the subject of morality has been coming up a lot. And so it inspired me to write this. It's interesting, Lainey said her poem could be called Contemplating Mortality. Well, my poem could be called Contemplating Morality. But my working title is Common Good. Am I a good person? I guess it depends. Opinions are mixed based on who, where, and when. Examining the past while considering what's new, we now accept that which we once thought taboo. Deplorable acts earning our condemnation could well be benign in some other nation. It's impossible, I found, to grasp in totality all aspects of temporal and spatial morality. Are morals simply a passing fad? Is good nothing more than the absence of bad? We're all human beings, so it seems there should be a definition of goodness on which all can agree. But varied experience and unique perspectives make goodness a topic that is very subjective. A gesture of kindness, a gesture of kindness we might want to extend, but would it be accepted or would it offend? A great multitude of values and choices make themselves known in a variety of voices. Finding consensus is the difficult part, but listening to each other is a good place to start. So now I ask you to weigh in if you would. What's your contribution to the common good?
Whoa. All right. All right. Yes. Well, I think that Merrimack Mic is contributing to the common good. I know it contributes to my good, and I want to send it out to as many people as possible. So anyway, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Excellent. And I see Karen, I think Karen just left. But so Matt, that's wonderful. I didn't know that that's how you got into the poetry scene. I thought you came in through Elizabeth. And Elizabeth, by the way, is off having a good time with her daughter in Ithaca. And so we can just say, well, you know, Pookie, have a good time without us anyway. And I'm sure she will. So that's all good. All right. So Jim, let's see. Jim is still here. Jim, Priscilla, do you mind being last?
No.
Okay.
I just want to be sure that I get in. I tried to get in here for 45 minutes. It was driving me crazy.
Oh,
Yes.
Priscilla, I'm so sorry. I mean, everything worked so well until I tried to start this meeting.
Yeah. Kept saying that you had another meeting going, and I said, wait, that's the one I want to be in.
Well, yeah, and I don't know who was there, but it certainly wasn't me. But anyway, so
Okay. Yep.
All right, well, so and then you can have 45 minutes. You can read as many poems as you want, because I have an account with Zoom, because I knew that our meetings would be much longer than 40 minutes. So we can go all afternoon if you want. Suits me.
Priscilla, I'm not leaving until I hear you read.
Okay. All right, good. All right, good. So Jim Knowles, put your words up here.
All right, so I've been conserving my computer there with the video and audio. It's held up pretty well.
All right.
But, you know, when I'm at these events, I always have a bunch of poems, and I tweak them and pick and tweak, you know, while responding to everyone else. But I don't know why, but I come up with a choice.
Okay.
I've got, it's from about maybe 10 years ago. It's Meadows
Wow.
Lost.
Wow.
Did I allow the lawn to gather strength? I did allow the lawn to gather strength, but she became unnerved. It's all unkempt. At least when I will mow, it's had some length, and ants will like my clippings. My house they then exempt. But I shall miss the mace and berry scents that used to rise to meet the warming sun. In Cumberland, across the ridge and field, when May was through and June had just begun. What is this creepy craving for grassy low estates? Did Eden have a golf course for the Lord? So many tufts and hummocks, bugs and mice, woodchucks and snakes, and I will banish them with spinning sword. The lawn is simpler now, but my heart feels the cost. Some sense of order gained, but my morning meadows lost.
Wow. Wow. I love that spinning sword. Oh my goodness. I've been reading some trashy Highlander romance novels, you know, 1300, 1400, that sort of stuff. And they're always, you know, bringing out their long swords from their claymores and stuff like that. And so I love that spinning sword for, you know, anyway. All right. Do you have anything else? Do you want to read another one?
All right, maybe a shorty. Let's see what we got. Oh, there was one that, you know, we were bashing on the other day, I think at Ipswich, and it was way too busy and long and gigantic and volcanic. So I'm sure everybody knows about Kellyanne and how she thought that COVID-19 had 18 before it, and wasn't it rude of them not to document the other 18? Instead of 2019. Anyway. So this is Kellyanne the 19th, Queen of Fact and Fantasy. What say ye, 6 feet to the side or 6 feet under there? We ride this crazy webby bear, the mental engine with its sparkling fab content. Beware of stings and shiny things with their tasty discontents. Making way for in the darklings with their stabbing methane BS throng, whipped by AM midnight crabbing. Spell sayers, they who lie, who hide and rant and cry in couch forts made from grimaces, duvets, and bluster, hair coats, pride and naga hide, for their king in a hairspray lifeboat. Let's visit other naughty goats, behind the lives and other deaths. Let's find the source of pains, prior 18 other strains, I guess, in Kellyanne's kaleidoscopic viruseum, somewhere inside that zombie's head. In aquarium, sanitarium, sea, a bowl, a rolling boil of alternate reality. Does it scare you that I like it real? Oh, Kellyanne, do you still know just how anything feels? Eat a sandwich, grab a brochure, check the deals. It might be time to flee that tin pot Mussolini and all the ghosts of lives he steals.
All right. All
That's
right.
the short version.
And
It ain't no stairway to heaven.
and one line that really sticks out for me from that is the hairspray boat. I love that. I could just see it. It reminds me of, you know, the 60s and the early 70s with the you know, the helmet hairdos, you know, hairspray boats turned upside down on our heads. I don't know. I love that. And the goats. Yeah, that's good.
So I had some bongos to go with it the other day, but that's when my software went nuts. So.
Oh dear. It went hardcore instead of software. I'm sorry.
Maybe the Russians did it.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. Yeah. Well, so, all right. Well, so Priscilla, lay those words on us. Let us hear them. Zoom us on in here.
Okay, I'm sorry I missed whoever, was reading while I was pressing keys, but I just wanted to say about David, it's just been such a sad vigil, and I don't think he'll ever be gone from us, because all of us, everywhere we go, when we go to Merrimack Mic or Joppa or powwows, readings, or whatever, we'll think of him and he'll be there. I mean, it's just one. So I have a short poem that I wrote years ago, and I actually read it at my mother's funeral celebration. And I'm going to read this for David. It's called Epitaph. It's in my little book. Your breath is gone. You no longer breathe the shared breath of the world. You are now slowly becoming the shared breath of the world. You are in my mouth, my lungs, my heart.
Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely. Thank you. Lovely. Right.
Well, miss his personal being, but his spirit will be with us.
Yes.
Now, on a completely different note, I've been writing a series of virus poems, and I wrote one about a boy bouncing. I read them, I think, before, bouncing a basketball down the street, and a girl being afraid to come out of her house to see her friends. This one's called Window Shopping, June 2020. The bridal gowns are all arrayed side by side on mannequins. Ball gowns, empires, some sequined, some of flowing silk moire. Dreams of ballroom chandeliered, her family waltzing round the floor. Unreal in windows of the store. She's standing outside. It's so weird being forced to shop this way, she thinks. She snaps some photographs. People walk by wearing masks. They look at her, the dress display. She wanders further down the street, sees a cake with a bride and groom. Wonders how it will look on Zoom. Little squares, so bittersweet.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
I'm trying to write the poems from just ordinary situations. And I actually saw this woman doing this in front of the bridal shop downtown. She was taking pictures. Yeah.
Isabel?
Everything's changed.
Yes, Mary?
I was just writing something for my class. I came across this article, and this person, somebody had died in their life. A spouse had died. And it says, the article is about, you can keep the dead alive. When a person dies and you lose your joy, that's when you are making the person as dead as possible. But you can learn to call on the spirit of that person to help them and learn to see them, him or her, around you. When I see a purple flower, I remember that John loved purple flowers, and I smile. That flower in that moment becomes him. So,
exactly.
Just what was being said.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
So
I have one more.
Oh no, Priscilla, go ahead, please.
This is kind of a snarky one. Forgive me.
Oh,
people.
good. I like
called Wild West, Spring 2020. The news depicted Dallas, or was it Tulsa or Fort Worth? All places having Wild West lore about renewal and rebirth. Folks kept listening to their leaders who poo-pooed the basic science, said, it only kills the seniors. Go out and party, no compliance. Then Betty Jo came down with fever. The mall had opened in defiance. She needed nails done and a haircut. Been in the house for long enough. Trump said Fauci was a wingnut. No need for masks and all that stuff. Now graphs of cases go through the roof. But cowboys and girls won't look at that. Even body bags as proof won't stop them. Yeehaw! Where's my MAGA hat?
Oh God. Oh God. I know.
And I wrote that weeks ago before all of this, increase in cases and everything. Yeah.
I lived in Arizona for a few years, and it's a very Republican state. And it's so bizarre to me because it's so poor. I mean, when I was there, I know so many people that were working 2 or 3 jobs in order to survive, but they would still vote Republican.
Mm-hmm.
They don't change time. They don't go to daylight savings time. Well, of course, cowboys don't have watches, so what difference would it make to them? I always figured, but it's so strange to me, but how personalities, they really seem to, like each state has a different personality. Each company that I have worked for, they all have a different personality. Working at the Visa Center, the energy was so dark and so kind of negative and stuff. And now I work at the Passport Center, or I may go back to working at the Passport Center one of these days. It's night and day, the difference in the, people are friendly, they're open, they're happy. It just amazes me. And, again, talking about when a community of people get together and what our energy, what our thoughts are, what we put out, what other people feel from our collective energy. And so, wow.
Yeah.
And one of the stories that is true about Arizona, when I was there in the 90s, and I'm sure it's still true. I can't imagine why they would have changed it. That any child of any age can carry a gun as long as they have a notarized note in their pocket from a parent. And it only has to be one parent. And of course, the gun is not supposed to be loaded. But at the public library in Arizona, I went to Tucson. I lived in Tucson. They had a stack of forms, like income tax forms, that sort of thing. And it was English on one side, Spanish on the other. And it was this form that you filled out and had notarized so that your kid could carry a gun anywhere. 6 years old, 8 years old, it mattered. So I, like I say, I doubt seriously if the law has changed, but it don't seem.
The different cultures. My father was from Oklahoma. I never knew him. And I didn't meet all of the relatives, tons of them that are there and around that area until I was in my 50s. And I love them dearly because they're blood, but they're all very religious Baptists, and they're Trump people. I don't get it. I just don't get it. They're not what they're poor mostly, or middle class. And I don't communicate with them that much, but I see on Facebook once in a while a posting, like liking some Trump thing. and it just breaks my heart.
I think what goes on is that some people really need to have clear boundaries. If they don't get stopped, and I don't mean that in a negative way, they panic. It's as if you enter a dark room, you can't see anything, you're trying to get your orientation, and no matter what direction you walk in, you can't touch a wall. So they need that. It makes them feel comfortable. Maybe like swaddling helps a baby feel good, or now those vests that they sell for dogs so they don't freak out with fireworks, okay? And so they believe that, and belief is a feeling. And what they do is they play by all the rules, and they stick to it no matter what. And then now we're in a dilemma, because they, in my opinion, as they look at the world, they see everybody cutting in front of them. It's like, wait, I've been doing all this right. I'm still in the waiting line. When do I get my American dream? And then they say, oh, there can't be affirmative action, or why should it be Black Lives Matter, or whatever the liberal cause is. And liberals are people who have softer boundaries, and that just freaks them out. So it just becomes a slippery slope. I think our only choice is to understand. First is to understand, and then and those folks realize they need the comfort of a hug, and don't push against them. Don't try to double down on your logic. Absolutely do not minimize their thinking or their feelings or say they're wrong. I think the only hope there is to harmonize with their fear and desire, and somehow say to them, how can I help get us there? Because right now, and I'll get off my soapbox, the problem isn't what people are saying. There's political differences. There are religious differences. It's the attitude that they say it with. So I drove people away.
And you know, Bob, I feel like you're so right. It's all about fear. People like bye, Harris and Lainey. When people don't feel that they're loved, that they're part of a community, that they're good people, that they're doing right. I mean, the fundamentalist Baptist kind of stuff just keeps telling people how bad they are and what sinners they are, and how they have to change their ways in order to get to heaven. And it's, I mean, if there's some way that we could help people or have people feel the love that, in my beliefs, we are loved unconditionally. We are not judged by God. We are perfect children, totally created in love and loved no matter what. You know, yeah. If we become defensive, and then it's, you know, it's just butting heads, and it doesn't help the fear.
I think the videos have actually caused a lot of people to be kind of ashamed of what they're associated with and who they are. There
Yeah.
was one just the other day that started up a whole new round of there was a guy with both legs amputated, and they maced him, and then they stole his legs. And so the crowd went and chased the police and took his legs back.
Yeah.
It's like just people are nasty to other people just to try, keep my boogeyman away. I'm going to scare you all away. So,
Right.
but it's right there for you to see what's wrong,
Yeah. But
I mean,
again,
without those,
the fear is irrational. You can't tell somebody, you can't tell your little kid, there's no boogeyman under the bed, in the middle of the night. I mean, how can they, you can't prove it to anybody. You can't talk them out of it. It's got to come from something else. But
the faith that's missing is faith in other people,
well, yeah.
faith in professionals, faith in your neighbors. They don't have faith in anybody. So,
Well, and they don't have faith in themselves. That's the bottom line, So if you don't have faith in yourself, then you can't get it from somebody else. And it's
just at this point you would think, I mean, we've seen how things have gotten screwed up and how things aren't working. And couldn't people open their hearts and say, okay, let's try something else, meaning Joe Biden or whoever, and see if we can make that work. It's worth a try.
The dilemma with opening, though, which you're right, that's what's needed. But the dilemma with opening is vulnerability. You have to let your guard down. You have to be open. And all of the soft, tender bits are there when you open.
Mm.
And like Jim was saying, to be able to demonstrate and say, well, if you did this, or you point, well, over here they did this, and look what happened. Not even tell them what to think about it.
Right.
And if that happens to go against the current belief system that they might carry, then it's fake. Somehow or other, it's been manipulated to appear that way. When I do medical ethics classes, one of the first things I tell them is if you're emotionally attached to your belief system, you don't have an open mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now you can keep it and you can love it, and that's necessary. And a current woman philosopher, Martha Nussbaum, she's like spot on. She's saying all of these things come down to feeling, and that feeling has a rational aspect to it, and rational thinking has an emotional aspect to it. You don't have morality without it. How can you have morality without compassion? So my concern at this point, because of my bandwidth on the planet, which encompasses my children and their children's bandwidth on the planet, that's where I worry now, because I need something to worry about. But that's where I worry now, that things will not move fast enough to give them a positive outcome. And my bandwidth is here, but the square is here, but then there's the whole grid that's longer, and that bandwidth is a waveform. And there have been despots before, there's been plague before, there's been war before. It's a big cycle. And in our bandwidth, because everything looks the same, like if you live in Massachusetts, there's a good chance you might think that everyone thinks the way you do across the country. They do not.
No.
Oh, okay. And so you think this is how it is or how it's always going to be. No, it inhales and it exhales. And I think we're in an exhale at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, it's interesting. After it took 30 years of disinformation to get here, and maybe 3 or 4 years of raw information, the videos and everything, to change everybody, back away from that again. There are a lot of, there's 5 Republican groups now that are spending hundreds of millions of dollars trying to bring this clown down. They feel some responsibility suddenly.
You should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to leave because I actually ordered and got together a group of people to order 100 Black Lives Matter signs that we're putting on everybody's lawn. And I told them to come and get them at 3 o'clock. So I'm about to be deluged.
Good for you.
But can we end? Anybody got a good joke?
Well, let me just say that a couple of announcements. The Frost Hoot is Tuesday night. It's all open mic. There's no feature, no particular feature. The deadline for submitting a poem for the 2020 Rattle Poetry Prize, which is 15,000 buckos, kids, is Wednesday the 15th. Emily Ferrara is requesting poems. I think I sent a link to her website and blog. Also, the Brockton Public Library is doing virtual poetry, and they're asking for selfie videos of poems. The poem, record it and do a selfie landscape instead of portrait, and send it off to Emma at BCA TV. If you don't have the link or her email, please let me know. They're posting them on their website. So anyway, there's lots of good stuff going on. Thank you all for coming. And
can you
send our love and energy to David and his spirit and his wife, and dance in the sunlight of the spirit, folks. It's our responsibility. Thank you for all your good words. You fill my
Thank you,
heart.
Isabel.
All right.
Bye, everyone. It was so
Thank
nice
you.
to see your faces.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. All righty.